Hey, welcome back to Student of the Gun Radio. We are back at our home studios. We are not on the road right now. That's going to change really soon. But we are back at the Glass Case of Motion Studios in Biloxi, Mississippi. And it's good to be back. Is it good to be back, Jared?
It is good to be back.
All right. Is his microphone muted?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so what we've got right now is yesterday. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's show, our exclusive interview with Master Sergeant retired U.S. Army Paul Howe. And if you are familiar with any of the U.S. Army's adventures on the Horn of Africa, there's some books about it and so forth. We're not going to talk about that right now, but we're going to talk about combat shooting and tactics. And we've got a little bit of an after-action report for you guys. When we were talking with Paul, we talked about, everything. But I wanted to just tell you how it went for us, what we did. We didn't do all filming and recording. We actually had the opportunity to do a little bit of shooting. Not a lot of shooting, because when you have a camera and a microphone, that comes first. But on the line with us hanging out right now is somebody who you're going to get to know intimately here in the near future. His name's Shane Iverson. He's U.S. Army retired, and I believe he retired as a Master Sergeant, but I might be wrong, and when he comes on, he'll let me know. Now, folks, the sponsored feature of this week is Brownells. Go to Brownells' Facebook page and thank them for supporting Student of the Gun, or you can go to their Contact Us page on Brownells.com. As always, if you go to the show notes, you said, what? There's show notes? Yeah, there's show notes, hippies. Get your heads together, man. Listen louder. Now go to Student of the Gun Radio, squeeze all those words together, and each and every episode has show notes. No. So when we mention something and I tell you about a story, if you say, I don't believe you, Paul, I think you made that up, go to the show notes, and you can click that little story right there and put it in your pocket and take it home with you. How's that sound? That sound like a good deal? All right. So our friends at Century Arms, at Crossbreed Holsters, at Frog Lube, Brownells, Duracoat, Velocity Triggers, all those folks are going to be with us in New Orleans this week. And as a matter of fact, as you are listening to this show right now, because we're pre-recording it, Jared and I are on the floor of a little show called the National Association of Sporting Goods Wholesalers, or NASGW for short. Think of it like a mini SHOT Show. Think of it like a SHOT Show, but just for industry people. And we're going to be there right now, like I said, talking to all of our friends in the industry and shaking their hands and thanking them for being a part of Student of the Gun. And today is, obviously, it's Wednesday. It's a SWAT Fuel Fitness Talk. But we're going to get into the fitness talk a little bit later. You're going to have to hold on to your seats and just take a few deep breaths while you're waiting for King Julian. But without further ado, I'm going to have Jared unmute his microphone, and he's going to promise not to clink coffee cups or anything like that. Shane, are you there?
I'm here. How are you guys doing today?
All right. Now, did you retire as a Master Sergeant?
Yes, I did. Yeah. Yeah, I live 19th Group down in San Antonio. Total of 27 years in the military. I started out in the Marine Corps. I was state platoon 1-1. I was a horrible Marine. I asked too many questions, and I didn't do my proper due diligence. Had I done that, I'd have done what I always wanted to do, was go in the Army and go to Ranger Battalion and Special Forces. So after I hit hitch in the Marines, I went over to the Army Special Forces. So there we go.
There you go.
In a nutshell. But yes, I did retire as a Master Sergeant, as a Team Sergeant. Probably I would count that as the pinnacle of what I consider to be the pinnacle of my military career, because that's a heck of a job.
Being a Special Forces Team Sergeant.
To be blessed with that opportunity to do that.
So it's safe to say that you have seen at least one elephant. You've seen the elephant, and then you saw another elephant, and you kept going overseas to see elephants. And now we're going to try and keep you in the United States for a while, because it's not so much the years, it's the mileage. Isn't that correct, Shane?
Yeah, definitely. I've with military deployments, you've done several military deployments, and then a lot more deployments working as a contractor for various government agencies and entities. Let's see. Yeah, and I think this last group of folks I was working for, I think I did about 21 trips with them. And then, kind of on hiatus from them after, kind of banging up my hand when a machine gun fell on it. So I'm kind of, taking a break and resettling and retooling to do something new.
Did we tell that story on the radio, Jared? We did. We teased on the radio about the story about I was sitting there in the team room and a machine gun fell out of the rack. But it wasn't just any machine gun, was it? What kind of a machine gun was it, Shane?
It was a Mark 48. For those guys not privy to what that weapon system is, it's a 7.62 version of a saw. Yeah. So it had been sitting in a machine gun rack for several years, and all of a sudden, some kind of poltergeist knocked it out of the rack, and it smashed right on my hand.
You said it was sitting in
God's way of telling me it's time to get out of this country and spend some time at home.
I'm going to drop a machine gun on your hand. Sometimes God has to drop a machine gun on your hand to get your attention.
Yeah, I'm a hard head that way. So.
And all you young hippies out in the audience, you're like, well, I thought all military weapons were like M16 and M14. Well, before they get to be an M, before you get the official M in front of it, it has to be an MK. Isn't that correct, Shane? Or using, I think the Navy puts a lot of mark designators on some of their weapon systems. Yeah, a lot of the stuff, it's kind of like their way of keeping it. It's like, well, it's not the official, but we still use it. So we're not replacing the M240. We're not doing that. But we need other stuff. So we'll call it the Mark. Like the Mark 19 and all that, and like the Mark 262. It's not the official. It's not an M855, but we're still going to let you guys use it. How's that?
Right. Yeah,
it's approved for military use.
When you're blurring the lines, with weapon systems, and moving into, for lack of a better description, special operations. We had all these different weapons, and we got M4s, we got Mark 416s, I'm sorry, whatever, it was a HEK 416, but the Mark 46, the Mark 48s, all of their different systems. So too many numbers for me to keep track of. I'm kind of a simple cat. So.
You put bullets in it, and it has a curvy thing, and you press that back, and it makes lots of noise.
It makes some people like to make noise. I prefer to make hits on a target.
Yeah. It makes noise, and then things die on the other end.
Yeah.
Things on the other end die. There you go.
I'm a stickler for details like that. If it's making noise, it's the end result. What do they call that? Terminal ballistics. So that's what I'm interested in there.
Well, speaking of terminal ballistics. You are now, your new job, in addition to all the other stuff you've done throughout your life, you've been a firearms instructor. You've been, you've been essentially, what have you been? You come home, you teach firearms, you pop back overseas, renew your passport for the 87th time, come back, teach, go back, shoot, come back, teach, go back, shoot. So we're gonna try and keep you in the United States and CONUS a little bit more. And you're working with our friends, your friends, my friends, at Paul Howe at Combat Shooting and Tactics in Nacogdoches. Now, there's a 300-plus acre facility in Nacogdoches, Texas, which is Nowhere. The main downfall of Nowhere to me is the fact that an interstate doesn't run into it, but that's okay. Get a map, find your way. However, you don't just have to go to Texas to train. Is that correct, Shane?
That's correct. Paul and I have been working on kind of combining forces for the past year and a half or so, or about the past year that we've been working on this project together. And where we're at right now is myself and Phil Stone, my partner, on this side of the house, we've established what we're calling is the mobile training team. It's this CSAT mobile training team. In the premise behind that is being able to export CSAT to remoter locations. I say remote, other locations other than just CSAT. Paul used to be on the road all the time, training. And he's gotten to that point in his life that he doesn't want to travel anymore, and I don't blame him. He's been doing this a long time. So where that gap in the business model is that's where Phil and I are kind of stepping in and putting together projects to export. When folks that can't get to us, we're going to try to reach out and get to them.
Okay. And, before we get any farther, if you guys are interested in CSAT training, combat shootings and tactics, it's those words. Put those words, spell them out in your browser. Combat Shooting and Tactics.com. And pop on over there, and you can browse around on their website. You can click on the different courses that they have to offer. Jared and I were up this weekend in Nacogdoches for the Urban Defense course, and we talked in great deal about that yesterday with Paul and why that's important and why we think it's important for the armed citizen in the United States of America today in 2015. Because really, it's about more than just going to the square range and shooting your gun. Anybody can do that. That's not a hard thing. That's 101. I guess it's before you do algebra or geometry, you need to learn what 1 + 1 and 2 + 2 is. But once you've done that, once you know your basic math, you need to move on a little bit. And I'll give you an example. What is your base pistol course there at CSAT, Shane? Is it pistol operator? Is that what you call it?
Yeah, the TAC pistol operator course is the baseline course. Yeah,
and then you have a rifle operator.
And in that course, as is our TAC rifle operator course, we introduce you to the proper fundamentals of marksmanship, be it with a rifle and or pistol. And we introduce you in a series of steps through our standards. The standards are pretty tough. They can be, but if we in essence what we do is we give you the blueprint, a proper blueprint for you to continue on with your training, on your own as you come back, through. So, we give you that's our baseline course.
And something we didn't
go ahead.
Something we didn't mention, I don't believe, when I was interviewing Paul, was that the Urban Defense course is not an initial course, so you don't just come in off the street and take it. You need some prereqs.
Correct. You got to have prereqs. A lot of our students are repeat customers. They'll come through. They're like, holy cow, this, they have epiphanies and the lights go on, and they're like, I see, I understand. And the standards are to a point that they are very achievable. However, it takes work and practice and a significant amount of work. Everybody wants to be 100%. If you're a shooter, 50% accuracy is not really acceptable. Everybody wants to be 100% each and every time.
Yeah, before you get people out and you have them running trails and doing bounding or bounding overwatch drills, you need to know that they understand to keep their finger off the trigger and how to run the gun. And so
exactly.
Yeah. I don't need to have time to teach you front side focus when we're jumping out of cars.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have to be able to demonstrate to us that you have the ability to safely operate a weapon system, be it a pistol or a long gun. This last weekend we had several students that have been longtime friends of ours, and they came through, and we continue to push as much training as they want to do as we keep building new platforms for them to kind of get the skills that they're desiring.
Well, that's the nice thing about CSAT is, and I think a lot of people, I think it's one of the best kept secrets in the shooting industry or the shooting training world, is the facility itself is, I refer to it as a full-service training facility. You can do everything from basic 7-yard pistol out to a 1,000-yard rifle and pretty much everything in between, whether it's clearing houses, negotiating in and around vehicles, shooting, self-loading rifles and carbines, shotguns. You want to shoot paper, we got paper. You want to shoot steel, we got steel. You want to, negotiate a jungle lane type course where you're going from, target to target, and you can do it all there. That's a really nice thing.
We got it all. Anything you want to do from a 22 out to, the 338 Lapua and other things like that. So we if you want to do it, we can get it covered. As a matter of fact, one of the other things I think this next week. We're starting our a week-long advanced SWAT course, and in that advanced SWAT course, we've got a relationship with several law enforcement agencies throughout Texas. That this is CSAT is where they send either new SWAT guys to go through our basic SWAT course, which is TCOL certified and everything. So. We can cover a huge swath of shooting requirements.
And you can do. That's one of the things that I don't know if you and I. Well, we kind of talked about a little bit on the phone. When I first went there in 2009, Paul ran us through kind of an intro door breaching or shotgun breaching class. And you have the shoot houses, and you have the ability to teach door breaching and so forth. And what we're going to do on the bonus hour is Shane and I are going to tell a little story about shotgun breaching gone wrong, or how not to do that. Shane, let's roll the clock back a little bit. And Shane and I met each other in New Orleans. Actually, we met each other in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, because we were getting ready to jump off into the Beirut on the Bayou. New Orleans post-Katrina. I was a police officer at the time. Shane were you in the SF Reserve at the time in 2004?
Yeah. And I was working for Blackwater at the time. I think I just finished up a trip where we transitioned from Bremer to when John Negroponte took over from the CPA, I believe, Central Provisional Authority. Yeah. So, I was working overseas at that time. I'd come home from a trip from Iraq, where I'd been, protecting Ambassador Negroponte.
Yeah. So you come back from Iraq. You're working for Blackwater. I just got hired by Blackwater because they were scrambling for bodies. We meet each other in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, for this little adventure that we'll call the post-Katrina, and it was quite the unique opportunity, was it not, Shane?
Yeah, it was quite the eye opener. I keep looking back, and there's so many things that I've forgotten about that. What we did. So going back down memory lane and looking at all the lessons learned there. It was probably one of the most kind of tragic and eye-opening experiences that I ever had. And maybe I was a little numb to it because I'd just come back from Iraq, and it was business as usual, which is, I think, in itself one of the reasons I don't. It's exactly what it was. It was business as usual.
Yeah, it was like third world.
Dead bodies laying in the street, destruction, all kinds of stuff.
Burned out buildings.
Government, your convoys moving here and there. Guys
checkpoints, helicopters.
I saw no difference between being in Iraq in 2004 and being in New Orleans. That's what just kind of, not necessarily a blur, but it wasn't one of those spikes in my psyche that, like, oh my God, I'm in America and this did that. So maybe I was a little numb, and that's probably why I don't really remember too many little points. You bring up, you remember this, and I'm like, no.
Well, that dovetails right in with the urban defense course that CSAT does, and what we did this last weekend. What do you do? People are like, you gun people, you're all crazy, paranoid, apocalyptic folks. And you say, well, no, not really, because that actually has happened in the United States, and it's going to happen again. The big question is will you be prepared to deal with it? And that's what we saw in Katrina, which was ridiculous because Katrina was 3 years after 9/11, and if you didn't wake up in 9/11, or 4 years, when are you going to wake up? And I said 2004 earlier. I should have said 2005, but whatever. The fact of the matter is, we saw in the greater New Orleans area what you would see on a regular basis in a country that is in the midst of an economic collapse. Or am I? Would you say I'm speaking that correctly, Shane, as a person who's been there?
Yeah, definitely. Economic collapse is a combination of economic and natural disaster. Whatever the catalyst is for a collapse, we definitely saw it.
So you've got roving bands of looters and rioters. You got the military cracking down, putting in law enforcement checkpoints, curfews. And then you have an infrastructure that is broken down completely. All of your drugstores are basically looted and burned. Your food supply, all of your Walmarts, your grocery stores, looted, burned. So now,
and tennis shoe stores, don't forget that.
Oh yeah,
for whatever reason, those folks
the
love
Nikes,
to loot the tennis shoe stores.
Oh yeah, so. you got to loot the Foot Locker. I mean, duh. Come on, what? bro, we've told this, but you remember when we were cruising down the highway, and I said, "Look at that," and it was like a CVS had been looted and burned, and then like a Foot Locker was looted and burned.
Oh yeah,
and then right next door to it was a Barnes and Noble, and it was untouched. Yeah. It was pristine. They hadn't even walked up to their we don't know what goes on in that building, and we don't care.
Yeah.
There's nothing in there for us.
Cool about that.
So the lesson learned from Katrina is if you want a riot-proof store, buy a Barnes and Noble.
There you go.
Because the looters don't even know where those are. They don't even know.
Yeah.
And if they find them,
they don't know what they are.
They don't know what goes on inside that building. There, I've never been in it. We're not going to get into all war stories yet. We're going to do war stories on the bonus hour because we can just free form there. But I guess what I wanted to bring up to you is something that Paul was talking. In the course, you do the physicality. You actually do the shooting and the moving and the cover drills, and you hustle up this hill and you hustle down that hill and so forth. But there's also a classroom portion too, where you sit down and you say, okay, there's a reason that we do all these physical movements. We're not just doing it to do it. We're not just burning calories. We're doing this because of these reasons, and you sit down and you have to think it through. Why is this important? And that's if you go to any school, it doesn't matter if it's Paul's or regardless. If you go to a school and they just say, do this, do, and they never give you the opportunity to understand why it's important, they're shortchanging you. Now, you have to do that with privates and PFCs. You have to do that in boot camp. You show up in boot camp as a shaved head little 18-year-old private. They say do, and you do, and we don't talk about it. We don't explain to you, little Johnny, why this is important. We don't have time for that crap. You just need to do it. But in the big boy world that we're operating in right now, you need to understand the relevance behind it. And so in the classroom, you sit down and you talk about the relevance, you talk about why it's important. And part of that classroom discussion, and we were talking about urban defense in the aftermath of whether it's a Katrina, whether it's a riot, whether it's, your Joplin tornadoes, anything that interrupts normal life for people, regardless of what that is. And if it interrupts it too far, you end up with things like roving checkpoints, hard checkpoints. And it's not just setting. A lot of people, a lot of the prepper type people, they think, oh, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to set up a roadblock at the end of our street. Nobody's coming in. Okay, great. What if you have to negotiate a checkpoint? What if you actually have to go out and you run into that? How do you do it? And, most people have never thought about that. Most Americans, I would venture to say, Shane, have never thought that they would have to negotiate not just a police checkpoint, but a military checkpoint or a checkpoint that's been set up by thugs. They're going to,
or even you take it out a step further, or concerned citizens, that are providing local security for, say your subdivision or anything. You could end up seeing that as well. Yeah, but along that same vein, there's all sorts of things that could pop up in a stressful time like that. I think what makes it most dangerous for everybody, one is, God bless America. We have a Second Amendment, and everybody can own a gun if they so desire. However, there's a lack of education. Shooting a gun and employing a weapon system in some form or manner is you're a God-given right here in the United States, and we advocate that for sure. However, in a stressful environment, people that don't have experience and or an education in how to actually live, work, and breathe with a firearm in a stressful environment, that adds a whole different twist and danger to it. What I perceive as a threat is completely different than from what a neophyte that's standing out in the middle of the night in the street, manning a checkpoint to protect his cul-de-sac. What I see as a threat is completely different than what he would see as a threat.
Yeah, a nervous PFC with a rifle can be the deadliest thing you ever encounter.
Yeah, definitely. I've had plenty of run-ins with that. Now, and he's got training. All right. Yeah. Now, take away that baseline training and put yourself in a Main Street USA with a civilian who is scared, nervous, with very limited training, or is self-taught. You have a complete recipe for disaster.
Well, and we touched on just briefly was in the post-Chattanooga situation where all these American patriots decided they were going to go protect the recruiting centers. And they show up, unfortunately, sadly, a lot of them looking like a bunch of bubbas. And I'm sorry if you consider yourself a bubba, looking like neophytes, looking like amateurs. I'll throw that out there. Looking and acting and behaving like amateurs, and standing out in parking lots having NDs because they're playing show and tell with their guns. That's amateur hour. That's crap. That's not how we should behave. And sadly, in our world, in the gun culture world, we have this huge percentage of people and it's mostly men because men are hard-headed monsters. They're like, oh, my grandpappy taught me how to shoot when I was 5 years old, and I don't need you telling me blah, 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 blah. Well, bro, if your grandpappy taught you how to shoot squirrels or tin cans off a stump, rock on. But I bet you he didn't teach you to stand for 8 hours at a checkpoint in your neighborhood, or to do a walking patrol around your neighborhood to make sure that looters aren't breaking into your neighbors' houses, or to deal with or confront bad people or potential bad people or people that you don't know are a threat yet or not with a loaded live gun in your hand. And there's no mulligans in our world. You got to do it right. Because you either do it wrong on one extreme and you end up getting yourself killed, or you do it wrong on the other extreme and you kill somebody that was, essentially innocent or not deserving of a bullet. We can't play, there's no mulligans, there's no do-overs, there's no resets in our, in that world. So, and a lot of folks, Shane, I'm sure you've encountered it, have that mentality of like, well, if it ever gets bad, I'll know what to do. You just get, I'm just going to make it up.
No. You know, there's an old adage, and you've heard it before. You know, people have this idea, and I think even Grossman even talks about it in a couple of his different books there. An individual, you know, hey, we're man, beat on chest, I make fire, you know, I have firearms, I can provide food for my family. Well, great, that's fantastic. However, stress induced into a situation is a whole different animal. You know, men being men and Americans being Americans, yeah, we're going to rise to the occasion. Yeah, most of the time they're going to rise to the occasion collectively and in a big picture. However, all those small little problems being solved to get to the end state of you know, surviving an incident such as we're discussing right now, folks are not going to rise to the occasion. They're going to sink to the lowest level of their training. And if you don't have training, you're not going to be successful. You're going to make, if you are lucky enough to survive a deadly force encounter, the likelihood of you making mistakes and collateral damage, you know, and if you actually manage to win the gunfight, you know, you're not going to rise to the occasion. You're going to sink to the lowest level of your training, and how you solve that problem is or the success you're going to have in solving that problem is going to be a direct reflection of what you do or don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and people think, well, you know, if it gets to that point, then I'll go ahead, I'll jump into a training course, I'll get some training. It's like, no, we don't. We train people before they're in theater. Have you ever heard of I mean, you and I both encountered institutionalized stupidity where lazy cadre people, rather than conduct the training, CONUS, and that's Continental United States folks, they're like, oh, well, when they get to their units, they'll train them up. You mean when they get to their units that are currently deployed on mission in whatever country they're in, you think they're going to have time to conduct training there? Yes, there's always a certain level of OJT. I mean, I'm going to have to familiarize you with the SOPs and with the country and the layout. But I don't have time to teach you fundamental marksmanship when you show up to the unit in Afghanistan. You kind of need to know that already before you show up. And that's a situation we find ourselves in as American citizens and patriots, as people are like, well, you know, yeah, I don't have time for that now. But, you know, if it ever starts to get bad, well, then really, so you think when you wake up tomorrow and your town is devastated by tornadoes, you're going to go to a class? You're going to learn then? Bro, this weekend, we left you. We parted company, and we drove from Nacogdoches back to, we practically had to swim back to Biloxi. And we drove through some hellish weather. There's people all over Louisiana, parts of Texas, parts of Mississippi that got flooded, lost power. Dude, we pulled off, not halfway. We were all like 3/4 of the way home. Pulled off to this intersection to, you know, use the bathroom, and I was like, I'm going to top off the tank. And the sign says, please, you know, prepay inside. So I walk into the counter, and I said, hey, how you doing? I need 20 on pump number 6. And the power went, boom. She said, and the woman behind the counter said, nope. Yeah. I was standing at the counter, and bam, the lights in everywhere, the entire, you pull up to a major highway intersection or exit, and everything was black. It was just, Jared, it was funny. Hey, Jared, how dark did it get in the potty when you were...
It was dark. I walked into the bathroom. I was unbuttoning my pants, and the power went out. And I was like, oh, crap. I can't even see the urinal. But I pulled out my flashlight, and I turned it on, and I continued my job.
Yeah. So
there you go. No soup for you.
Yeah. So. Well, it's funny. People are like, they say, why you carry a flashlight even in the daytime? Yeah, because I guarantee you at some point in the very near future, it's going to be dark. That's the equivalent of saying, well, I'll wait till it's dark and then I'll go find my flashlight. It's like, or you could just have it with you. So when it gets dark, you can use it. It's amazing. It's kind of, well, no, we're not all like, highly trained special for. It's like carrying a flashlight is like a special operations technique. It's like, I know them special operations guys carry flashlights, but these regular people, it's just kind of crazy to do that. Like, I don't carry a knife. If you're listening to me right now and you don't have a knife on you or within reach, you're wrong like dick cancer, and you need to fix yourself immediately. Same goes for a flashlight. There's no reason in 2015 for you not to have like basic stuff. I mean, you don't need a Mark
flashlights everywhere around here. So
you don't need a Mark 48, but you should have a flashlight and a pocket knife.
Exactly, at a minimum. You never know. I mean, they're tools. It's just like any other basic tool. If you spend any time outdoors, that's a minimum of what you need to have. So, and that includes in an urban environment. You walk out the door. You got to have the tools to face the potential threats that you're going to run across. I mean, and that can happen. I don't know if I told you, one of the things that happened, and I think we're still dealing with it with the Tarrant County District Attorney. My wife and I were, last year, our youngest son, first week at kindergarten, we were taking him to school. I come back from a business trip down to Florida, and I'm kind of, we had a good fishing trip, and I'm kind of still in that. I wake up the next morning at 7:15. At 7:30, we're out the door to take him to school. I'm still in that condition white, because I have vacation and everything. And we both were. My wife and I both were. Well, we get within 100 meters of our house. We have a road rage incident. And the guy gets out of his car and starts walking to my wife's door. And I'm 100 meters from my house. So I get out of there, you're not going to talk to my wife. And he ended up pulling a knife on us. Well, we got out of it. I was fully committed to defending my family and everything. I'm not going to bother you with all the details, but we managed to de-escalate the situation. No blood was spilled. However, as soon as I saw the knife, immediately, I start reaching for my waistband and everything, and I had nothing on me whatsoever. Not even a flashlight, which I could use as an implement to hit him, and even a small one, some kind of a weapon. Didn't even have my cell phone on. We just, let's take Aaron to school. We hopped in the truck and left. Got to 100 yards, and now we're got a guy pulling a knife on us. So the lesson there, even for many years as I've carried a gun professionally. You can get caught with your pants down, and I swore, it was a good reminder. We all have those times where we have to remind ourselves that the threat will appear when you're least prepared.
Yeah, yep. We've talked about that before, man. People say to themselves, they're like, I got to run to the store to grab milk. And they look at their dresser. They've dressed down for the day. They put all their gear on their dresser, and their wife hollers upstairs, "If you want to eat dinner, you better go buy a gallon of milk." And they're like, And then what do you say to yourself? You say, "I'm just going to run to the store, and I'm going to run back, and I'm not going to gear back up. I'll be gone real quick. I'm just grab my keys and go." And what happens?
Yeah, and that's during normal operating circumstances.
Right, that's what happens.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens. People get comfortable. You and I, everybody, we get that because it takes discipline to do it. It's hard to discipline yourself. It really is. Mm-hmm. And most Americans have been taught that disciplining yourself is wrong or rude, or no one should expect you to have to do that. And so it's easy not to. And that's why that's why we need to encourage each other constantly. Now, before we go any further, Shane, remind everybody where they need to go to take a class with CSAT.
Well, first of all, what you need to do is go to www.combatshootingandtactics, all spelled out, one word, .com. We go in there, look at the training schedule, see what courses we're offering and what we have available. If you would like to talk about, having us come out and to your area, wherever that may be, you can contact me directly at Iversen, that's lowercase IVERSENS at CSAT-MTT.com.
All right. Or go to combatshootingandtactics.com and navigate from there. How's that sound?
Yeah, navigate from there. There you go.
Just do it. That is today's topic. No, it's not a Nike commercial. It is a fitness talk. And if you guys want to take advantage of your discount from SWAT Fuel, go to SWATFuelStore.com and you can enter the promo code SOTG2015. This fitness talk segment is brought to you by SWAT Fuel, so go show them some love. Just do it. Why do I say that? Because there's a lot of you guys that are having problems with motivation or not wanting to start your journey on the gym, getting fit. And what I say to that is just do it. It doesn't matter how long you do. 10, 15 minutes, that's better than 0 minutes. Just start your journey. Just do it. I was at that point, I don't know, probably a year and a half ago, where I was like, man, I've got so much work to do after having the shoulder surgery and then eating a lot of comfort food afterwards. I had a long journey ahead of me, and I still do, to get to where I want to be. But I fixed myself by just starting a little bit here and a little bit there, and eventually it wasn't as painful, it wasn't as hard as it was when I started. If you let I was listening to one of my podcasts that I listened to. Is actually when Dad and I were on our way up to CSAT, and the dude said it's easier to keep up than it is to catch up. And I completely agree with that. If you let yourself get insanely out of shape, if you don't work out for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, then it's going to be much harder for you to catch up and get back in shape than it is if you would have just kept up with it along the way. So do a little bit here, do a little bit there, do a little something every single day. Just do it. And that's pretty much it. I don't know what else to say about that topic. Do you have anything else you want to say before we end the show?
No, I'm going to go ahead but I am going to give you the topic for next week's show. For next week's is this: do your skills or does your conditioning match your goals or the mission requirements?
Okay.
Are your skills, are you up to the mission requirement? We're going to talk about that next week on the SWAT Fuel Fitness Talk.
That's pretty good, because I'm assuming that has to do with something we talked about at CSAT.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely. Yeah, people are like, well, I'm not trying to be an athlete, and I don't want to do the show right now, but it's that. How do you deal with that?
Yeah.
Do you need to be a triathlon runner in order to fight with a gun? We're going to deal with that next week. So be sure you tune in to Student of the Gun Radio next Wednesday for SWAT Fuel Fitness Talk.
That is a great idea.
That is always a good idea. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, make sure that you're giving some love to our friends who give love to us. That's just the way the world works. It's the way the world should work.
Don't forget, this week's featured sponsor is Brownells. Go to studentofthegunradio.com, click on the little link there. There's links for their Facebook page and their website directly in our show notes. If you don't want to do that, then just search for them on Facebook or go to brownells.com and you can find the little contact us tab. They actually have a live chat. You can chat with them live. How awesome is that?
That's just awesome sauce.
Yep.